1,500 years before the Wright brothers even existed, an ancient civilization may have already conquered the skies, and what they left behind still haunts researchers to this very day. Deep in the dry deserts of Peru, carved into the earth itself, lie enormous drawings so massive that no human standing on the ground could ever see them. These are the Nazca Lines, giant spiders stretching hundreds of feet across the land, massive hummingbirds with wings spread wide toward the heavens, mysterious geometric patterns that seem to go on forever. But here is the question that has tormented scientists for nearly a century. If these drawings can only be seen from high above the clouds, then who exactly were they made for? And more importantly, how did the ancient Nazca people even know what they were creating if they could never see it themselves? Unless, of course, they could. Unless they found a way to rise above the earth and look down upon their own masterpiece. Unless 1,500 years ago, in a remote desert valley, human beings learned to fly. This is not fantasy. This is not legend. This is a theory backed by evidence so compelling that modern scientists actually tested it. And what they discovered will leave you breathless. The Nazca civilization flourished in southern Peru between 200 BCE and 600 CE. They were brilliant engineers who built underground aqueducts that still function today. They were skilled weavers who created fabrics so tightly woven that modern machines struggle to replicate them. But above all else, they were artists. Artists who carved over 800 straight lines, 300 geometric figures, and 70 animal and plant designs into the desert floor. Some of these drawings are so enormous that you could fit several football fields inside them. The famous hummingbird stretches over 300 feet from beak to tail. The spider measures nearly 150 feet across. The monkey, with its strange spiraling tail, covers an area larger than many modern buildings. And here is what makes this truly mysterious. The Nazca Plateau is one of the flattest places on Earth. If you stand on the ground there, you see nothing but rocks and dust stretching to the horizon. You cannot see the lines, you cannot see the shapes, you cannot see the incredible artwork beneath your feet. The only way to truly witness the Nazca Lines is from hundreds of feet in the air, so the question remains, did the ancient Nazca people create these masterpieces blindly, hoping they would look correct from above? Or did they possess knowledge that history has forgotten? In the 1970s, a man named Jim Woodman asked himself this very question, and he refused to accept the easy answers. Woodman was an explorer and a researcher who had spent years studying ancient civilizations. He had walked the Nazca Desert, he had felt the mystery in his bones, and he noticed something that others had overlooked. Among the many artifacts left behind by the Nazca people, there were peculiar pieces of fabric. Not ordinary fabric. These textiles were incredibly fine, tightly woven, and surprisingly similar in structure to the material used in modern hot air balloons. Woodman also discovered ancient pottery decorated with images that looked remarkably like floating objects in the sky. He found burial sites where the deceased had been placed in baskets that seemed designed for more than just burial. And slowly, a radical idea began to form in his mind. What if the Nazca people had invented hot air balloons? What if they had discovered the secret of flight over 1,000 years before anyone else in recorded history? The scientific community laughed at first. The idea seemed impossible, but Woodman was determined to prove them wrong. He partnered with Julian Knott, a famous British balloon pilot who held multiple world records for high-altitude flight. Together, they designed an experiment that would either confirm or destroy Woodman's theory forever. They would build a hot air balloon using only materials that were available to the ancient Nazca people. No modern technology, no synthetic fabrics, no advanced engineering, just cotton, reeds, and rope. The same materials the Nazca had in abundance 1,500 years ago. They called their creation Condor 1. It was a simple smoke balloon shaped like an inverted pyramid, made entirely from hand-woven cotton fabric identical to what had been found in Nazca burial sites. The gondola was a reed boat, similar to vessels the ancient Peruvians used on Lake Titicaca for thousands of years, and the heat source was nothing more than a fire pit burning dry wood. On November 28, 1975, history was made. Condor 1 rose from the Nazca desert floor. Jim Woodman and Julian Knott lifted off the ground. They climbed higher and higher, 200 feet, 300 feet, nearly 400 feet into the sky. For a few breathtaking moments, they hovered above the ancient lines. They looked down and saw what the Nazca people may have seen 15 centuries ago. Giant drawings stretching across the plateau, perfect geometric patterns carved into the earth, a view that was never meant for those who stay on the ground. The flight was short, the landing was rough, but the point had been proven beyond any doubt. The ancient Nazca people had every resource they needed to build flying machines: the cotton for the balloon, the reeds for the gondola, the fire for the hot air, and the intelligence to put it all together. Did they actually do it? The debate continues to this day. Some scientists remain skeptical, arguing that there is no definitive proof that the Nazca ever built balloons. Others point to the evidence and ask a simple question. Why would they create artwork that only makes sense from the sky unless they had some way to see it? But perhaps the most compelling argument is the simplest one. Human beings have always looked at the sky and dreamed of flying. Every civilization, every culture, every corner of the world. The desire to rise above the earth is written into our very souls. Is it really so impossible that one ancient civilization found a way to make that dream come true? The Nazca people were not primitive. They were engineers. They were inventors. They were dreamers who looked at the stars and refused to accept that they could never touch them. And in the end, they left behind something extraordinary. Not just the lines themselves, but the mystery surrounding them. A mystery that reminds us that our ancestors were far more capable than we often give them credit for. The story of the Nazca balloon teaches us a valuable lesson. It teaches us never to underestimate the power of human creativity. It teaches us that the impossible is often just the undiscovered. It teaches us that knowledge can exist in places and times that we never expected. And perhaps most importantly, it teaches us humility. We look at the ancient world and sometimes we assume that we know better. We assume that our technology is superior. We assume that our understanding is complete. But the Nazca Lines remind us that there are still mysteries we have not solved. There are still questions we cannot answer. There are still secrets buried in the sands of time, waiting to be uncovered. And that is a beautiful thing. Because mystery is what drives us forward. Mystery is what pushes us to explore, to discover, to learn. Without mystery, there would be no curiosity. Without curiosity, there would be no progress. The Nazca people understood something profound. They understood that human beings are meant to reach for the heavens, not just physically, but spiritually as well. They understood that we are not meant to stay small and limited. We are meant to grow, to rise, to become more than what we were yesterday. And when we look at their incredible lines stretching across the desert, we see evidence of that eternal human truth. In our tradition, we are taught that Allah has placed signs all across the earth for those who reflect. Signs in the mountains and the oceans, signs in the stars and the moon, signs in the creations of those who came before us. The Nazca Lines are one such sign. They remind us that human beings have always sought to understand the world around them. They remind us that the desire to explore and discover is a gift from our Creator. They remind us that we are part of a long chain of seekers, dreamers, and believers who have looked at the universe with wonder. And when we ponder these ancient mysteries with a pure heart, we come closer to understanding the wisdom of the one who created everything. The flight of Condor 1 over the Nazca Desert was more than just an experiment. It was a tribute to human courage. It was a bridge between the past and the present. It was proof that when we approach history with respect and open minds, we discover that our ancestors were remarkable beyond measure. So the next time you look at the sky, remember the Nazca. Remember that 1500 years ago, someone might have looked at those same clouds and found a way to touch them. Remember that the human spirit has always been capable of miracles. And remember that the greatest journeys are not just the ones we take across the earth. They are the journeys we take within our own hearts, seeking knowledge, seeking truth, seeking the one who created us all. May the mystery of the Nazca Lines inspire you to never stop wondering. May it remind you that this world is full of beauty and secrets waiting to be discovered. And may it bring peace to your heart, knowing that you are part of something far greater than yourself. A story that stretches back thousands of years. A story that connects all of humanity. A story that will continue long after we are gone. This is the legacy of the Nazca. This is the power of ancient mystery. And this is the gift that awaits everyone who dares to look up and dream.